Hi everybody. I can't believe it's been like a month since I've uploaded a video. What have I been doing? Filming videos and deleting them and not uploading them. So I took the time and I went through, I think it's 11 books that I really want to read, and I have time finally to sit and film this. Life has been hectic, to say the least. I appreciate the patience and the impatience, even if you've been impatient. If you're watching this, I appreciate it. But before I get into the video, I just want to shout out a couple of channels who I really like and I like to interact with, and I feel have been supportive of me. And even if we're not mutuals, like, I'm subscribed to them and I just think they're really great. The first is To Readers It May Concern. This is Ruben. Ruben gave me a shout out and I wasn't even aware until months later because I never checked the mentions part of my channel, but I had already seen his videos, which is why I was so flattered that I was mentioned. And he just has really great content, really eloquent, articulate goals for me. And then the second creator is Super Blomper, I believe is how you pronounce that. And this creator made a video where they tagged me and they bought The Glutton because they had seen one of my shorts talking about it, and they have really great videos, unique videos. She likes scary books and just things that are kind of fucked up, so also in my alley. The next is, of course, Nathan's Nook. Nathan has been really I feel supportive of me and my channel. Early on, he mentioned me on his when I was really a new upcoming. I mean, I don't even know what the fuck I'm trying to say because I'm not anywhere, but Nathan was one of the first people to really make me feel like part of a booktube community, and I love his videos. He is such a talented, literal, like, cinematographer, amazing editor. I could only wish to like even make a thumbnail as beautiful as his. So he has a great channel. And then the next, Milana Radic, I hope I said that correctly. So I believe it was on TikTok that Milana interacted with my videos and followed me, so I checked out her videos and I saw that she was starting a YouTube channel, and I think she reads a lot of really interesting books and is doing a really great job of just making content in general. Her visually, her videos look really nice and I enjoy them, so shout out to Milana. And then the next is Lani's Library. So Lani, I think I also discovered through TikTok, and Lani, oh my goodness, like, she is so cute. She is somebody who knows what she likes to read, and you can tell that everything she reads brings her happiness and joy, and she just, at least from my perspective, watching her videos, leads a very beautiful and happy life. And, you know, I feel like Southerners and the South in general get so much shit, but Lani makes me want to go to the South. She makes me want to drink tea. She makes me want to listen to, like, I don't even remember his name, but some, I think country artist that she likes. So shout out Lani. And then Illiterate is somebody who has emailed me in the past, and then I saw that this amazing blogger Andre, aka The Untranslated, actually uploaded one of Illiterate's reviews of Vladimir Sorokin's book onto his Twitter, and I was like, that is amazing. So just shout out Illiterate for killing it. And then the last channel is I don't know how to pronounce it because I know this person is French, but he has literally been supporting my channel and always been super sweet to me, and now he is like killing it, making great videos, and it's really great practice for me to listen to them because I am still trying to keep the little French I know alive in my brain, and he's very helpful for that for me. And plus he's talking about a lot of great books, so yeah. All right, so let me move over to the right a little bit so I can have room to put an image of the books I'm talking about to my left. So the first book that I really want to read is called The Automatic Fetish, The Law of Value in Marx's Capital by Beverly Best. So I'm going to quickly read through the summary for y'all. The Automatic Fetish recreates Marx's analysis of capital step by step through the material compiled posthumously, I hope I'm pronouncing that word right, I've never said it all out, as Capital Volume 3, identifying the critique of value as the central through line of the analysis. Best elaborates Marx's theory of value as a theory of movement through which the capital machine generates social forms of appearance that are the inversions of its inner operating mechanism. Best develops through Marx's critique and analysis of money, credit, crisis, and the derivatives of profit, interest, and ground rent that takes the reader from their emergence as capitalist forms to their current expressions. Neither a back to basics nor newfangled reconstruction, the Automatic Fetish eschews novelty to show why, once again, Marx deserves to be read carefully. So I really want to read this book because I have not read Marx, but as somebody very interested in Russia, Marx is somebody who comes up again and again and again in literally every fucking book that I've ever read. Just now in Life and Fate, Marx is brought up, what it means to be a good Marxist, what it means to be a good member of the party, especially moving into the years of World War II. And I'm very interested in learning more about the capitalistic system that's currently destroying our fucking world. You know what I mean? So this book just seems like it's going to be a great introduction to these ideals now in a contemporary kind of context. And I have no idea where I can find this book to read it, but I really want to read it. Book number 2 is Michael Kohlhaas by Heinrich von Kleist, translated by Martin Greenberg. This book is based on historical events. The sterling saga of violence and retribution bridges the gap between medieval and modern literature and speaks so profoundly to the contemporary spirit that it has been the basis of numerous plays, movies, and novels. It has become, in fact, a classic tale, that of the honorable man forced to take the law into his own hands. In this incendiary prototype, a minor tax dispute intensifies explosively until the eponymous hero finds the forces of an entire kingdom and even the great Martin Luther gathered against him. But soon, even Luther comes to echo the growing army of peasants asking, "Isn't Kohlhaas right?" Widely acknowledged as one of the masterworks of German literature, Michael Kohlhaas is also one of the most stirring tales ever written of the quest for justice. So this book was originally published in 1810, and I still stand by the 1800s being some of my favorite years of literature. Just love it, love it, love it. So I kind of discovered this book and read about it because I found out that Kafka had read it and loved it, and obviously when you hear something like a minor tax dispute that intensifies explosively, the mind might just immediately go to Kafka. At least for me it does. When I know that an author that I loved a book, I just feel like I need to read it. I want to better understand their mind. I want to better understand their tastes. I want to kind of see where inspiration may spring from for them. So that's why I really want to read this book. And I looked up the translator, Martin Greenberg, who recently died in 2021 in New York. And he served in the army during World War II as a sergeant. So yeah, I've been really reading a lot of things involving World War II recently, which is just like random. But in 1989, he won the Harold Morton Landon Translation Award, which I didn't know existed, but it seems like he has translated lots of different books, including The Diaries of Franz Kafka, 1914 to 1923. So there's the common thread with Kafka, and this is just a book that I would love to read. Hopefully I can find it. I feel like I should be able to find it in the Netherlands at least more easily than I can find it here at my library or my local bookstore. Moving along, the third book I want to read is called Explosion in a Cathedral by Alejo Carpentier, translated by Adrian Nathan West. And this is the first new English translation in 60 years of the most important Cuban novelist of the 20th century's rousing historical novel about a French pirate who led the campaign to take back the Caribbean island of Guadeloupe from the British, featuring a new foreword by Alejandro Zambra. When he arrives in Cuba at the close of the 18th century, Victor Hughes, a merchant sailor from Marseille, brings with him not only the idealism of the French Revolution, but also its ambition and bloodlust. Landing at the Havana doorstep of a trio of wealthy, eccentric Creole orphans, he sweeps them across the Caribbean Sea to Guadeloupe, whose enslaved Africans he frees only then to exploit them in his fight against the British for colonial sovereignty. Bro, what ensues in Alejo Carpentier's swashbuckling, magical realist masterpiece is an explosive clash between the New World and the Old World, and between revolutionary ideals and the corrupting allure of power. I don't remember how I came across this book, but I love to dive into things relating to the French Revolution. It interests me so much, which I think is surprising considering in school, when I had to read Tale of Two Cities, I read 2 pages and never bothered to read it again. But generally, it's this abstract idea in my head of what it would take and what it took for the French in that time to rise up together and take down their oppressors in such a violent, bloody way. And it's impossible not to think about that in the times that we're living in. Who doesn't at least fantasize or think about this kind of violent uprising in their free time? I know I do. It just seems like an awesome book. And I haven't read it, so I can't even say anything more about it, which is why I'm hoping that this video doesn't feel pointless. But I really want to read this book, and yeah. Okay, I think we're on number 4, and I have The Rise of Life on Earth by Joyce Carol Oates. I have this book on here because I always see Joyce Carol Oates' tweets, and I didn't know she was alive until I saw her on Twitter. I think she is so cute and small and brilliant. I think I just kind of wanted to find a book of hers that was of interest, and this is the one that I chose. Selected by the New York Times Book Review as one of the most notable books of 1991, Joyce Carol Oates' The Rise of Life on Earth is a memorable portrait of one of the insulted and injured of American society. Set in the underside of working-class Detroit in the 60s and 70s, this short lyric novel sketches Kathleen Hennessy's violent childhood, shattered by a broken home, child beating, and murder, and follows her into her early adult years as a hospital healthcare worker. Overworked, underpaid, and quietly overzealous, Kathleen falls in love with a young doctor whose exploitation of her sets the course for the remainder of her life, in which her passivity masks a deep fury and secret resolve to take revenge. Why wouldn't I want to read that? Do I need to say more? Do I need to add anything else to that? Because that just sounds good as fuck. Nothing I love more than to read about female rage and women standing up to fucking assholes who kind of view women as like theirs once they're cuffed, and not as an individual person who still has their own life to live and desires and dreams. Okay, book number 5, I believe. Hopefully I don't edit this and realize I've been miscounting, but Thérèse, Raquin by Émile Zola, translated by Leonard Tancock. One of Zola's most famous and realist novels, Thérèse, Raquin, is a clinically observed, sinister tale of adultery and murder among the lower classes in 19th century Parisian society. We still love the 19th century, almost just as much as the 18th, so. Set in the claustrophobic atmosphere of a dingy haberdasher shop in the Passage du Pont Neuf in Paris, this powerful novel tells how the heroine and her lover, Laurent, kill her husband, but are subsequently haunted by visions of the dead man and prevented from enjoying the fruits of their crime. Zola's shocking tale dispassionately dissects the motivations of his characters, mere human beasts who kill in order to satisfy their lust, and stands as a key manifesto of the French naturalist movement, of which the author was the founding father. It just sounds so great. It kind of reminds me of King, Queen, Knave by Vladimir Nabokov, which was also kind of a book where there's adultery and the woman wants to kill her husband with her lover, but they end up not doing it. So this just sounds like it's taking that trope to a really dark, sinister level, kind of giving Macbeth. So doesn't that sound just great? Like, it sounds great to me. Also, I've never heard of the French naturalist movement, nor do I know exactly what that is, so I think reading this will enlighten me. All right, 6, El Obsceno, Pájaro de la Noche by José Donoso. I don't know if translation has been published yet. I guess I'll read the description in Spanish. So, la voz que narra este relato fluye infatigable de los labios de Mudito como en un viaje desde el ser hacia la nada, elaborando un mundo destinado por la maldición intrínseca de la existencia al deterioro, la pérdida o la confusión de cualquier identidad posible, las viejas que pueblan la casa de la encarnación de la chimba y los monstruos de la rinconada ilustran cada matiz de la desesperación y cada uno de los ínfimos placeres cotidianos. Esta es sin duda la obra cumbre de José Donoso. So, first of all, I already suck at reading out loud in English, so much more in Spanish. I apologize to any other Spanish speakers watching this. I pretty much have this book on the list because I've heard so much about it from people I follow on Twitter who are in this literary sphere that's mainly like about translation, this new wave of young translators coming in, and the importance of getting some of these amazing books translated into English. And I'm pretty sure Andre from The Untranslated has a blog post about this book, or at least has talked about it extensively. I trust his word, you know? So that's why I have this on here. And I believe that it's out in Spanish, so I will read it and definitely learn a fuck ton of vocabulary because there were words in that paragraph I have not used. Granted, I also feel like I'm limited in the sense that, like, a lot of people can speak Spanish, but there are different vocabularies depending where you're from. I don't know where José Donoso is from, but I can look it up. Chile, period. Okay, book number 7 is 2666, 2666, 2666. I don't know what the proper way to say this out loud is, but it's by Roberto Bolaño, translated by Natasha Wimmer. Composed in the last 2 years of Bolaño's life, 2666 has been greeted as his greatest achievement, surpassing even his previous work in its strangeness, beauty, and scope. Its throng of unforgettable characters include academics and convicts, an American sports writer, an elusive German novelist, and a teenage student caring for her widowed, mentally unstable father. Their lives intersect in the desert sprawl of Santa Teresa, a fictional Juarez on US-Mexico border where hundreds of young factory workers in the novel as in life have disappeared. Audacious, impassionate, and profoundly inspired, 2666 is Roberto Bolaño's masterwork. I've heard about this book from the same people who I really admire and admire their taste, and even Max K, my oomph, who is an ASMR channel. I'm pretty sure Max is somebody else who in my live told me that that's like one of their favorite books. So I've only heard outstanding things about this book, especially because a lot of young factory workers actually have disappeared in that region, and it's actually a problem that makes me want to read it even more. I like books that have a fuck ton of characters, and this seems like one of those. I like books that are borderline tedious to read and so rewarding, and I just have the sense that this is one of those. And of course, if any of you have read any of these books, please let me know what you think about them. Let me know if I'm tweaking or if I'm on the right path with my desire to read them. So, okay, book number 8, clearly I'm playing with this and fidgeting, is Ethics by Spinoza. And here the translator is Edwin M. Curley, but I really want to read the George Eliot translation. Have I read any of George Eliot's books? No. But I want to read a girl translate some shit like this. So that's basically why. Hopefully, when I move to the land of Spinoza, I'll be able to find it. Maybe at my school's library, we shall see. but published shortly after his death, the Ethics is undoubtedly Spinoza's greatest work, an elegant, fully cohesive cosmology derived from first principles, providing a coherent picture of reality and a guide to the meaning of an ethical life. A powerful work of elegant simplicity, the Ethics is a brilliantly insightful consideration of the possibility of redemption through intense thought and philosophical reflection. The Ethics is presented in the standard translation of the work by Edward Curley. This edition, blah blah blah, blah blah blah. I guess you could say I'm searching for answers, but it's more so that I'm really intrigued by a lot of different philosophers. There are just so many schools of thought, and in my opinion, at this moment in my life, I feel like it's impossible to ever say who is right, who is wrong, who has reason, who does not. And this is only philosophers, okay? Because I'm not even talking about religions in general. I am personally not religious at the moment, and when I was reading things about Spinoza, I really connected with his fearlessness, being persecuted as a Jewish man, moving to Amsterdam with his family, and then being excommunicated from the Jewish community, and being like the only person to have been excommunicated. Mind you, he was like a teenager. Only person to get excommunicated and not even attempt to reconcile with the community and to go back. I just find that to be so brave, and I'm not talking shit about any type of religion, but I just feel like one's ability to question and bring up criticisms about something like an organized religion is super, super important, even if you end up going back to that religion and it betters your life, like all of that. I respect it, okay? But I currently don't really vibe with that at all. And even like Kierkegaard, I haven't read any of his books, but I'm dying to read either or, because I feel like so many people have an idea of what an ethical life is, what an aesthetic life is, and I just want to know what everybody thinks. You know, I feel like I need to know what everybody thinks as I continue to develop my own thoughts and opinions. I feel like this is venturing into really like theoretical territory, and again, I'm like not trying to offend anybody, but that's really why I want to read this book. Also, it sounds like it's just a masterwork. It sounds like it's written incredibly well, and when I think about my own philosophical ponderings and everything I think about when I go on my hour-long walks with no phone and shit, it's like I don't think I could write it down. You know what I mean? So I already admire somebody who has been able to write that shit down and stand on that business. I'm really in no rush, I guess, to figure this out, whatever this may be. I'm very comfortable with the idea of death and the idea of no afterlife. I'm very comfortable with feeling like indescribable amounts of love and just fullness of heart for humanity in general. I think literature has opened my heart and my mind so much that everything that I read is just a supplement to my ever-changing thoughts and opinions. I don't know. I think Spinoza's thoughts on God are so interesting. This love of God, which for him is more of a passion and love for general understanding and acceptance of life. I just love it. So yeah, hopefully I can find a beautiful, cool copy in Amsterdam. That's like my #1 book priority when I arrive. Okay, we're on 9. Maybe this is too many. I just went through like my whole Goodreads want to read, and there are so many other books that I want to read, but these are kind of like at the moment what I would want to read like in the next second if I could just make the book appear for free in my hands. So book number 9 is The Discomfort of Evening by Marieke Lucas Reinfeld, translated by Michelle Hutchison? Michelle? Or Michael. It's definitely not Michael. Okay, so it's M-I-C-H-E-L-E. Michelle? But anyways, Jas lives with her devout farming family in the rural Netherlands. One winter's day, her older brother joins an ice skating trip. Resentful at being left alone, she makes a perverse plea to God. He never returns. As grief overwhelms the farm, Jas succumbs to a vortex of increasingly disturbing fantasies, watching her family disintegrate into a darkness that threatens to derail them all. a best-selling sensation in the Netherlands by a prize-winning young poet. Reinefeld's debut novel lays everything bare. It is a world of language unlike any other, which Hutchinson's striking translation captures in all its wild, violent beauty. Studded with unforgettable images, visceral, raw, surreal, the discomfort of the evening is a radical reading experience that will leave you changed forever. Need I say more? Visceral, raw, surreal. Give it to me now. Dying to read this translation, and maybe, hopefully, one day it would be wonderful to be able to read this book in Dutch. I think it's like just important for me to read more Dutch authors and honestly immerse myself more in Dutch culture and make more attempts at learning Dutch. I think it's important. And also I want to read this book because it sounds good as fuck. So, okay, this is getting a little extensive. I'm gonna try to speed it up. Book number 10 is Little Dorrit by Charles Dickens, and I'm not even gonna read the description. The only reason that I want to read this book is because I learned that Charles Dickens was acquainted with Charles Babbage, who is considered to be the father of the computer, and I learned a lot about him when I was learning about the history of artificial intelligence. But I think that Charles Babbage is immortalized in some character in Little Dorrit, so that is the only reason I want to read it. So it's not a priority book at all. All right, we're almost done. So book 11 is Red Cavalry by Isaac Babel, translated by Peter Constantine. One of the great masterpieces of Russian literature, the Red Cavalry cycle retains today the shocking freshness that made Babel's reputation when the stories were first published in the 1920s. Using his own experiences as a journalist and propagandist with the Red Army during the war against Poland, Babel brings to life an astonishing cast of characters from the exuberant, violent era of early Soviet history, commissars and colonels, Cossacks and peasants, and among them to be bespectacled Jewish writer, intellectual, observing it all and trying to establish his role in the new Russia. Drawn from the acclaimed award-winning complete works of Isaac Babel, this volume includes all of the Red Cavalry cycle, Babel's 1920 diary from which the material for the fiction was drawn, and his preliminary sketches for the stories, the whole constituting a fascinating picture of a great writer turning life into art. I'm currently reading Life and Fate by Vasily Grossman, which is pretty much just that, except later on. I already know that I'm going to be eating up a fictional story based on the notes and observations of a war journalist, and I've read amazing things about Babel, mainly from Elif Batuman's book, The Possessed. She talks about him a ton, and when I read that, that's actually when I decided that I wanted to read this book. I love like Soviet history. Okay, and then last is book number 12. Flatline Constructs, Gothic Materialism and Cybernetic Theory Fiction by Mark Fisher. Donna Haraway's celebrated observation that our machines are disturbingly lively while we ourselves are frighteningly inert has given this issue a certain currency in contemporary cyber theory. But what is But what is interesting about Haraway's remark, its challenge to the oppositional thinking that sets up free will. Bro, there's like a dash between some of these words, so it's literally in dash interesting and think dash ing, and like until I read what's past the dash I don't even realize it. So its challenge to the oppositional thinking that sets up free will against determinism, vitalism against mechanism, has seldom been processed by a mode of theorizing which has tended to reproduce exactly the same oppositions. These theoretical failings, it will be argued here, arise from a resistance to pursuing cybernetics to its limits. Unraveling the implications of cybernetics, it will be claimed, takes us out to the Gothic flatline. The Gothic flatline designates a zone of radical immanence, and to theorize this flatline demands a new approach, one committed to the theorization of immanence. I want to read this because I put this on my list, I think a year ago when I was still in school, because this class that I took called How We Became Digital really introduced me to machine learning principles, to computing history, especially at the University of Illinois, and along with all of that, I learned a lot about the history of cybernetics. At the same time that I was taking that class, I took this Intro to Fiction class that was all based on the Gothic and monsters, so I don't even know where I heard about this book or like this thesis, but when I heard about it, do you think I understood anything that I just said out loud? No. Do I want to try to understand even a little bit? Yes. And I think it's just such an interesting take, and I've really learned more about like the different facets to the word Gothic and how it can be applied and how it can explain and describe things outside of just books and like a literary genre or architecture styles, you know what I mean? This is way over my head, but I want to read it so I can understand it a little bit better. So okay, so that's it for this video. My knees are like literally locked up and broken from sitting on the floor. Again, if any of you have read or heard of any of these books, please comment and let me know what you think about them. Let me know if you think I'm gonna like them. And yeah,